Hey, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to our weekly show. We call it Three Broke Guys Handicapping, where we review one of the top racing cards from around the United States. We will select a four-race sequence from that track and attempt to come to a consensus on a pick four ticket. Thank you for joining us. Week number 44 of the racing season. And, well, it's a little bit of a hangover week following the Breeders' Cup at Del Mar Racetrack. We've popped a few aspirin. I know that I've drank more than a few cups of coffee, and we are ready for our first ever trip to Gulfstream Park West. It's the Millions Day for Florida State Breds. The pick four starts in race number 8. It ends in race number 11. There's 3 stakes in that pick four on Saturday. My name is Rich Sharp, and each week I'll be joined by my friends and racing analysts. And this week, folks, our first handicapper, he comes to us. He's from Staten Island, New York. His name is Ray Torado. Ray, it's nice to see you this morning, but it was a lot more fun seeing you last week. How are you doing today, sir?
Doing very good. Yes, last week was exciting. It was a tremendous weekend. We had a good time doing the show in the same house. It was amazing, I tell you. We got to do it again.
That was pretty cool. All right,
do it again.
We've got one more handicapper. We're not going to leave him out. He's our West Coast handicapper. He's from right around the corner from me here. He's in Temecula, California. Joe English, how are you doing this week? Are you ready to go at Gulfstream Park West?
Sure, I'm ready to go. I need another cup of tea. I have to have you've obviously had more cups of coffee than I've had cups of tea, but all I know is I like the change in the weather for once. It's starting to get a little nippy here, so I've put the heat on this morning, got the tea brewing, and I'm ready to go. Let's get this thing started.
All right. Well, before we get things started, I haven't hit you with any trivia in a week, and I will, or a little while at least, and I will let everybody know that I did not prep Joe and Ray with this trivia question, but I had it in my mind all week long. It was, as Ray talked about, kind of a tough week to get back into the swing of things, going back to work this week and things like that. But gentlemen, we were at the Breeders' Cup last week. We saw the best racehorses on the face of planet Earth right there, right before our own eyes. The three of us were all together, and I wanted to ask you, who was the most impressive horse that you saw out of the entire Breeders' Cup? Could be anybody on Friday or Saturday. Ray, you can go first. Who impressed you most last weekend?
Honestly, the one who won me money. What approval. I singled him. I went deep into the legs. I hit the pick 3. Got a good cash back and hit the budget. But actually, I tell you, Gunrunner really impressed me. I mean, I had doubts about him, if you know, on the show, about him with the competition, on the East Coast, going out west to face some speed horses out there, and he really impressed me. I'm telling you, he did the job.
Before I get Joe up there, I'm going to let you guys know that I agree actually with Ray's second choice there and things like that. In my impression like that, from what I saw, there was a quality field there in the Breeders' Cup Classic. And when Gunrunner stood in there, he basically looked at everybody else and said, you know what? Hold my beer. Joe, who did you think was the most impressive of the Breeders' Cup weekend?
I'll give you 2. I'll give you a horse that won, and I'll give you actually can I give you 3? I'll give you one that lost. Gunrunner was very impressive. He was down closer to the inside part of the track, which by all accounts was not the best place to be this weekend. Definitely not on Friday. It seemed as if all the horses that were down on the rail, all the winners came out, were rallying wide down the center of the track. So the fact that he did what he did, beat Collected on a track that Collected loves at his own game, and it's not to disparage Collected, Gunrunner was very impressive. But I'll give you 2 who didn't win that were impressive. One was Bolt Doro, who really had almost no shot from where he was around the first turn, 3 or 4 wide around the far turn. 3 lengths beaten is not bad. He'll live to fight another day, and I know he's going to take the California route equal to the Derby next year. And I'll give you another one, and that's Beach Patrol, who seems to just fire shot after shot, fires every race, did all the dirty work, stayed close to the early pace last time, couldn't hold off Talismanic, who obviously was a good thing at 15-1. Again, he tried. This was his second start at a new distance, and this is a spot that the Americans don't generally do well in, and the Europeans generally run better than us. And yes, they got the better of us, but Beach Patrol ran his eyeballs out too.
Thank you, guys.
So,
Great weekend. And in case you can't tell, last week was the Breeders' Cup at Del Mar Racetrack. Unfortunately, we did not hit our pick four. We didn't hit either of our pick fours. We didn't hit on Friday and we didn't hit on Saturday. It actually turned out to be kind of a brutal beatdown of the three broke guys at the Breeders' Cup. Time for a brief weather update from Miami, Florida, or if you prefer, Miami Gardens, Florida. Forecast for Saturday calls for partly cloudy skies, slight chance of rain or shower. There's a high of 82 degrees, and there are winds at 15 to 25 miles an hour. Just another breezy day in Miami. There is, keep note of this, there is a 20% chance of rain today there at Gulfstream Park West. A total of 11 races, 8 stakes on tap for Saturday. For today, we are focused on the pick four. It begins in race number 8 and it concludes in race number 11. Gentlemen, the gates are locked and loaded. The outriders are clear and the starter is ready to pop the gate. It's pick four post time.
Let's do it.
And in Miami, there's always a 20% chance of rain. That's the same forecast pretty much every day.
That's just every Saturday, exactly.
10 minutes. 10 minutes of rain.
Every day.
Race 8.
Yeah.
Anyway.
The approximate post time is 3:36 p.m. Eastern. So for those of you who pick four players, it's coming up a little bit sooner than we've played these last few weeks. 7 furlongs. It's the Millions Distaff Stakes. The purse is $75,000. Florida-bred fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and upward. 8 starters, and your morning line favorite starts from post number 7. It's Mama Joyce, trained by Ralph Nix and ridden by Tyler Gaffleone. 5-2 on the Gulfstream Park West morning line. For those of you who are wondering, Gulfstream Park West was formerly known as Calder Racetrack, and it is known. It is actually in a new city that is called Miami Gardens. It was formerly the unincorporated part of Miami that is there that we're at today. Ray, you are up first in the Millions Distaff Stakes. Who do you like in race number 8?
All right, we got here 7 furlongs, some fillies, and it's a good race. Who I came out on top here, who I like, is number 5, Sweet Khaleesi. She was kind of rested off a career best. She's a length away from a 4-race winning streak this year. She's 2 out of 6 and 2 seconds. And, Jaramillo is a good jockey every day. He's 27%. He stays on the mount. He's been hot lately, 10 for the last 30. And this horse showed a little more speed last race in the slop. But I think she's going to be more best prompting the pace, mid-pack and pouncing late, top of stretch, making a late move. That'd be her best game. The layoff should help her recover she had 6 races in 8 months. So Stanley Gold's here. And, they should do well. The track profile fits the horse. Who usually they had out at least 60% of the early type winners, the E and EPs on the bus, and so this horse should be close. I'm gonna go with a little long shot here also. Number 3, Yes I'll Go. This horse intrigues me. I think she's probably gonna be below the morning line. She broke a maiden very impressively at the track last November. She has some tough races like the Devona Dale, grade 2, at Gulfstream Park going a mile. She faded a little bit there. She's coming off a layoff, and her 2 career wins are off of layoffs. So it's a little angle I'm using there. And she has some good workouts to the track. So, 20-1, I think she'll probably be less than that. But if you could get that price, definitely, on a little call. Is a little cold. The trainer, De La Soda, she's 1 for 31. But this might be the horse to wake him up. She was off well for layoffs, and she likes the track. She ran well last time. So, I'll take a chance with this horse. I do like number 7, Mama Joyce, the favorite. She's, 4 for 6. She was running in New York, frequently claimed from the Contessa Barn and the Gargan. And now she came to Florida, and she had 2 wins. Like we say, the new face from a scary place. The scary face of a new place. And, she's won twice here. And, this is the 03 Django. Claimer, so a little stake race there. And now she's going in for a little more money here. So, she definitely going to be forward placed. And she should run well here, too. She has a slight layoff. So, those are my 3 horses there. I'll go with the 5, the 3, and the 7. All right, Joe. Who you like in this race? Millions Distaff.
I I'm with you. I'm kind of trying to beat the favorites in this spot. I mean, I know what you said about Sweet Khaleesi, um, and she's one of my top. She's my second choice in the race, and part of the problem I had is that this race did not come up with a lot of speed types early. Rachette, the 12, is probably going to be on the lead. After that, it seems as if there are some horses who can and are willing to go to the lead. And I kind of think maybe Sweet Khaleesi, I think Jaramillo, I hope Jaramillo can read the racing for him. And I think Sweet Khaleesi is going to be closer to the pace. But there is a horse I still like to actually beat Sweet Khaleesi, and that's the 2, Who's the Lady. Looking at the PPs, in the Azalea at Gulfstream earlier this year, she ran a really nice race to beat Lyrica. She just got up in the shadow of the wire. It was an interesting race. I actually had a chance to watch video last night. It was a slow ending, but again, that race made her 5 for 5 in Florida around one turn. She's obviously now a 2-turn horse. I like that they decided to give her a distance race at Delaware to bring her back to the races from the August layoff. But she's back in Florida. And again, she's 5 for 5 in Florida, all races around one turn. Luca Panici, who's obviously a good jockey, gets up for Kathleen O'Connell, who's a good trainer. She's probably, I mean, maybe to the people at Gulfstream Park West, they know how good she is, and people in New York know how good she is, but she's probably somewhat under the radar. I know she's under the radar nationally, but again, obviously 16% at the meet, 15% for the year. So I'm going to take a shot with the lady. 7 furlongs, obviously a tricky distance, but this was, like I said, 5 for 5 around one turn in Florida. And at 15-1, I'll take that chance. I will go with Sweet Khaleesi as my second choice. The only thing that concerns me about her is that when you have a horse in form like they had earlier this month, obviously earlier this year with a race in June, 2 in July, and 1 in August. Generally, when they're in form like this, you like to keep going. And I mean, obviously, I have no idea what was behind the decision, but I'm just kind of wondering if they decided to prepare for a fall campaign and maybe give her some time off, or what exactly the situation was. So I see she's been working somewhat regularly. It seems like every 10 days. So again, she's got to be used, but I'm a little wary, which is why I was kind of shopping for a horse elsewhere. And the other horse I like a little bit, I will mention later. Are we doing our own pick for a segment anymore? Or if not, I'll just mention her now. And you know what? I'll just go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
The 10, Money for Love. She's another horse who likes one turn. She didn't run as well against Mama Joyce 2 starts back. But the race last time out, she finished 4 3/4 lengths behind Curlin's Approval, who ended up in the Breeders' Cup not that long ago, actually, a week ago. And that was a decent enough race. I understand that Gaffleone goes elsewhere. Hernandez did ride her to the winner's circle in the Added Elegance in July. But she's a one-turn closer. I'm not sure she's going to get enough pace, which is why I probably have her third. But she's been in a lot of stakes races. She obviously they decided to enter her in the Princess Rooney when she was 110-1 that day. She also lost to Curlin's Approval that day. I think she fits in with this level. Again, I'm just not sure she's going to get enough pace to run at. So I like her underneath. So in this race, my top choices are the 2, Who's the Lady, the 5, Sweet Khaleesi, and the 10, Money or Love. And Who's the Lady I like at a juicy 15-1 on the morning line. And you may get that. Rich?
Let's see here. I kind of like the favorite here, Mama Joyce, for Ralph Nix and for Tyler Gaffleone. Gaffleone's been real hot. Nix can train, despite the fact that he's a little bit cold here at this meet so far. He's 2 for 26 so far in the year. And I thought that the combination of those two put together, and the horse has just, not done anything wrong. Ray brought it up. Came in from New York and then came down to Florida, and 2 for 2 down here in Florida, and I just could not toss this favorite. So unfortunately, I did have the 7 on my ticket. My top choice, you might have already seen the check mark is up there, is on Sweet Khaleesi, Stanley Gold Emiseo Jaramillo, and they're hitting at 33% together. The horse has got 2 seconds, one by a nose and one by 1 length, and 2 firsts in his last 4 races. Just been hot. In form. The one thing I will take as a caveat there is to take note that not necessarily the distance for Sweet Khaleesi here, 0 for 4 with just the 1 second place, but that is where my check mark goes. I've got 5, and I did use the 7, so I did not toss the favorite in this one. So I've got 5, 7. Joe has got 2, 5, 10, and Ray has 5, 3, 7.
Yeah.
Let me go ahead and come on back to you, and we will move along. Hey. And here we go. And we're moving on to race number 9. This is going 1 mile on the turf. It is the Juvenile Fillies Turf Stakes. The purse, again, $75,000. This is for Florida bred 2-year-olds. 10 starters, and your morning line favorite starts from post number 7. This is Homemade Salsa, trained by Mike Maker and ridden by Tyler Gaffleone. 5-2 favorite on your Gulfstream Park West morning line. Once again, used to be called Calder Racetrack. When you see it today, there is no grandstand any longer over at Calder Racetrack. Kind of one of the loneliest looking racetracks you'll see out there. Just some tents that are over on the infield side. Reminding me a little bit from what we saw earlier this year of Kentucky Downs, where you don't have a whole lot of audience. From what I understand, they advertise and they recommend that you go to Gulfstream Park West to go ahead and wager and bet on the races, or excuse me, to Gulfstream Park to wager on the races over there at Gulfstream Park West. So, Joe, you get the Juvenile Fillies Turf Stakes. Who do you like in race number 9?
I didn't know that about Calder. It's funny because I did get a chance to watch video, and obviously there is not video. There's only, I think there's only one, maybe only one camera.
Yeah.
It's funny because it's like they had it like right in front of the starting gate, and basically it was the same view all the way around. They never switched cameras. They don't have a second camera like they do at other tracks. But anyway, I digress. This is not about Calder. It's about gambling. It's about the show. Again, I'm glad I get a chance to watch videos sometimes. I went with the 5 here, Dancing Starlet, who's 10-1 on the morning line. For again, I guess this is a Kathleen O'Connell show for me. I watched the race at Calder. Actually, I guess I should say it right now. Gulfstream Park West on the 15th, and Dancing Starlet and Bolt d'Oro had pretty similar trips, but Dancing Starlet actually got up in the shadow of the wire. This horse was about 4 or 5 wide on both turns. Again, I understand it was a maiden claiming race, but this horse ran a lot further than everybody else in that race. Just me personally, I think that figure should be a little bit higher, at least the speed figure, and I'm hoping that she shows it today. Again, it was just a brutal trip, and basically she got up in the shadow of the wire, and for a first start on turf, that's not bad. I'm not going to throw that back. Yes, it was a maiden claiming field, but Baylor got all the run early down on the rail. And this horse was like so wide, and this horse ran so much better than Baylor. The neck margin to me is just not good enough. So I'm taking Dancing Starlet at 10-1 on the morning line here. Number 6, Unstable in the Morning. Got a chance to go back and watch the Juvenile Filly Turf Stakes at Del Mar, and she kind of ran one-paced, which was fine. She didn't really show much in the lane. She didn't gain a lot of ground. She also didn't lose a lot of ground, and she beat about half the field. I'm definitely throwing out the turf race. Obviously, the horse is not that bad. Eric Eo has trained out in Southern California before. I think a return to turf and this horse will obviously be a factor in the stretch in this race. The other horse I like a little bit is the 2 Annabella Queen. Again, got to watch video of the 50,000 claimer that she ran at Gulfstream Park earlier in the year. She chased the pace. She pounced and she held off in the lane. Basically, there was one horse and she was about 9 or 10. They were about 9 or 10 lengths clear, the top 2 for most of that race. Annabelle top of the lane and basically held on to win by 2 1/4. So I think this horse has a future on turf as well. Again, the race that she's coming out of, the Ardea Peg, Blonde Bomber, who was the winner, actually finished 3rd in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Filly race last weekend. So the race obviously is proved to be a productive race, and Annabella Queen could be a live long shot. Actually, she's not really much of a long shot. She's 6-1, but I would take that too. So I'm taking the 5 Dancing Starlet, the 6 Unstable in the Morning, and the 2 Annabella Queen in the Juvenile Fillies Turf. Obviously, not a lot to go on other than video for me in this spot. So I will hand it off to my friend in Staten Island, Ray. I assume your trip home was nice?
Yes, nice clean trip. A little turbulence around the Rockies and all the mountains and stuff, but it was a nice trip. Actually, fast going home, like 4 hours. Maybe the winds.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, but now I'm here in 28-degree weather, so I'll be playing from indoors.
23 degrees?
28 this morning. Yeah, it kind of went down, so it should get back to the 50s by Monday. So, in this race, let me see. I'm with you, Joe. I like the number 2, Annabella Queen. I really did like that race on the 22nd September, the main claimer. She did, pounce close to the lead, and she took off, and there's a nice time, for that grade, and she looked like she handled the turf very well. The last race, forgiveness a little bit, off the turf, and she did have to lead in this fade a little bit. First time winners on a new surface that maybe she doesn't like that much. It was just fast, but it was on the dirt, so they put her back on the turf, and she should run back to her previous race before. So 6-1 is a good price on that. I do like number 6, Unstable in the Morning. This horse, comes out of that tough juvenile turf race, like you said. Last race, they put her on the dirt, and she was just backed up. Maybe just $400,000 race. I guess they wasn't gonna scratch. Maybe they tried something, put her on the dirt. Maybe they thought she had more talent to race against those horses. That's a big flaw of the race. 400,000, but it didn't work out. So you know what? Go back to the turf and a little drop in class here. So she's a good price too, 9-2. I do like the favorite number 7, Homemade Salsa. This horse is she lost to Bronx Bomber, like you said, Blonde Bomber, who was in that Breeders' Cup. But this race also was on the dirt. So this is her first time turf. So being the favorite first time turf, I'm a little leery. So I put her in my third spot. She's definitely an include because of her figures. She's run very well in the 80s of Brisnet. And so she has some talent. So she might have taken to the grass. But she'll be in there. I also like number 1. I'm going 4 deep here. Sunshine Treasure for Edgar Zayas or Arsenio. This horse had a nice little maiden win in the turf in July. Later off. A couple of long workouts. I don't know why they laid her off. I'm not sure. But she comes back in this little stake race here. Wow. With a good jockey. And, she's 1 for 1. So how can you, can't blame that. So she's 10-1. So I'll take a chance with that horse too. So those are my 4 horses. It's a pretty deep field, so you're going to get a price here, I think. So I'll go with the 2, 6, 7, and 1, Rich.
Nicely done. I've actually got 2 of your horses right on my top line. So you guys have seen the check mark is on. Thanks for Joe for pronouncing that correctly. Unstable in the Morning. It's still early out here in California, and my mind was not grasping that name for whatever reason. Eric Guillot has been out here for a while in California, as Joe mentioned. The horse came out, won at first asking, 7.5 furlongs at Gulfstream Park, and then came out and got shipped all the way across the country here to Del Mar. Ended up in the Juvenile Filly Turf. And as you see there from the pace numbers, and Joe brought it up, the horse did not make progress around the track and things like that. As you see here, you've got some note that the horse did encounter some trouble. Pole got stuck inside and then comes up with no bid there at the end. Had Evan Ramon aboard that day, who's one of the hot jockeys out here in California. I actually think that's a pretty good performance. I usually like those East Coast shippers that come in from California, so would have loved to have seen this horse win on that day. 18-1 certainly would have been a nice little surprise for us. But went back and I just draw a line through that dirt performance there at Gulfstream Park West. That was a big race, again, a $400,000 race. Looks like there was some decent pace in there. And so I thought Unstable in the Morning was worthy of my check mark. Unfortunately, I once again, I got stuck in the same position that I got stuck in the first race. I don't think I can toss this favorite, though. Homemade Salsa with Tyler Gaffleone and Michael Maker. Again, Tyler's been hot there at Gulfstream Park or Gulfstream Park West, however you want to put it. In South Florida, he's the man. Mike Maker can train first on grass. He's got a 19%. Although I will note that Two-Step Salsa, the sire for this one, just 7% with first-time starters here on the turf. So that's something that you might want to take note of if you're handicapping this race. As you hear there, my two colleagues, my two analysts, they're both going a little bit deeper. So I'm just going to go ahead and stop with those two. I'm just going to use the 6 and the 7 in this race. I believe that Joe went with the 5, the 6, and the 2, the 5 being his top pick. And Ray went with the 2, the 6, the 7, and the 1, the 2 being his top pick. Go ahead and come on back to you, and we will go ahead and move along. And we are going on to race number 10. This is a mile and a 16th on the main track. It is the Millions Classic Preview Stakes. Purse is $75,000. Florida bred 3-year-olds and upward, 8 starters. And your morning line favorite at 5-2 is in post number 7. Mr. Jordan, trained by Edward Plisa Jr. and ridden by Edgar Zayas. All right, one little bit about Calder Racetrack. They had a very big, or they still do continue to actually have a very big sale there annually at Calder Racetrack. Joe, that is where the highest price was ever paid for a single horse. It was $17 million. Joe, what's the name of that horse?
I have no idea.
You always tell me stories about him. It's the Green Monkey. And that was where he was purchased, was at Calder Racetrack. And I want to say, I believe it was in 2009. I'll have to go back and check my Wikipedia numbers.
I thought it was at a different place, but I could be wrong.
I was surprised to see that as well. So
I thought it was somewhere else. I didn't think it was Keeneland. I thought it was somewhere else. But anyway, that could be true.
I'm
not doubting you, Rich.
On to race number 10. And Ray, you are up first on the Millions Classic. What do you like in race number? I believe that's race number 10 for us.
It was very hard for me to get past his favorite here, Mr. Jordan. He's been running against better. He won his first last year. He had a up and down campaign. He's been running against grade 3s and the Hooper and the Island. He did win a allowance race in Parks. He's been overmatched. Paige McKinney, you see all these horses, Birdsong. There's nobody here in that range of horses. And so, I'm going to go get the distance. Obviously, coming for slight layoff. He's actually 3 for 3 at the track, so that's very, that does me good. Pleaser has, he's 1 for 6 just started. He had a few horses here. And Zayas is also the man here, so between Zayas and Galafione and Jaramillo, they take turns, winning. And this horse, it's hard to be. He's had the good figures from last year, and he's had a tough campaign. I think this is a good spot for him. So I'm just looking to single him. I don't see anybody else in this race I can look for. I did try, but the way I'm gonna bet this sequence, I'm gonna single the 7. So that's all I gotta say. Joe, we got in this race. Yeah,
it's pretty amazing. We how similar and how different we are as handicappers and as horse bettors. Excuse me. I also am singling in this spot, but I'm going with a different horse. I went with 2. The horse's name is Zipping. And I just going back through the PPs, and I like I said, I did have a chance, being that we didn't do the show last night and did the show on Saturday morning, I had a chance to spend a good couple of hours watching video. And I watched Zipping's last race, actually last 2 races, the optional claimer at Gulfstream Park West on the slop. He was very impressive. And what it showed me, and if you look even through the PPs, and I wish I had Rich's pencil that I could use. If you look at all the races that all the races that he runs well in, if you see any of the firsts and seconds and even the forts, he always has speed. or at least he's got enough speed to get position. See, he's 2 lengths back at the first call, a length and a half back, a length in front. And when he's got a chance to get position, he runs pretty well. I watched the showing up and I watched the start, and the horse had no chance based on the break. The horse hopped at the start and was last, basically just about last from the beginning. So this horse really had no chance. The horse obviously had run decently on turf before, but based on that hop start and the fact that the horse, if the horse has no speed, the horse really doesn't necessarily give as good a performance. I decided to toss that race out, and I went back to the figures on the 3 races before, the 3 races on dirt. Obviously, the horse has become a little bit of a different animal on dirt. And I have one more angle for you. And if you look at it's the trainer is Roger Lauren, and this horse has 9 starts this year. And if you look at Lauren's stats, he's only run 16 horses all year long. So obviously he has a very small stable, and maybe it's just 2 horses. Here's the other reason I like Zipping is because if the horse ran that poorly a week ago and he's deciding to run this horse again, having such a small stable, I think there's some level of confidence that this horse is not, that the showing up was not a representative effort, and that this horse is going to run a little bit better this time. I can see, Rich, you're showing that he's a pet. But obviously, like I said, this guy's got a small stable, and he's bringing the horse back in less than a week after a not really representative performance. And I think we all remember Fast and Accurate was on the Derby trail earlier this year. Actually, I think he ran in the Derby. He was like 70 or 80 to 1. He was the one who he won the race at Calder. But anyway, that's just another interesting fact. It really doesn't mean that much. So like I said, I went with Zipping. I was looking at the favorites, and I really wasn't all that impressed. And I decided, like I said, I wanted to go deeper in the last race, and obviously deeper in the earlier leg. So I found a race to single. Like I said, just like Ray did, we just ended up on different horses. I went with Zipping. I think the horses, High Riverside is generally not a speed horse. Zipping, if the horse breaks at all, is going to have a nice trip, sit right in behind the speed, and hopefully tip out or find a spot on the rail and come running late to run these down. So I'm going with Abby Medina, 14% jockey for a 13% conditioner. Roger Lauren with Zipping in the Millions Classic Preview Stakes at Gulfstream Park West on Saturday, race 10, leg 3 of our pick 4. Rich, you have a different opinion, and this one really doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, this one can't surprise anybody on the show. Although I'm not really a name player, to be honest. Although I have to note that if there are horses that have names like Richard's Boy and Richard the Great, they do certainly seem to end up my ticket quite often. Usually because when they win and I don't have them, I have to listen to my wife for days on end. Afterwards. In this particular case, even if I put the paper over the horse's name, which I often do in cases like this where I see a horse that's got a name that makes you want to bet him, I still would have bet this horse. His last 4 races, if you want to kind of going off the 3 broke guys angle from a little bit earlier this year, if we're willing to give a little bit of forgiveness down there at Keeneland in the Phoenix, this horse did not take to that track. And put up a bad performance. That was the first bad performance that we'd seen going back to the summertime. Before that, had on a 2-win win streak, and then second. So has got Emiseo Jaramillo, one of the top jockeys there. Again, we brought up some of the names that are there: Edgar Zayas, Tyler Gaffleone, and here you go with Emiseo Jaramillo. They're 33% together with Stanley Gold. I've had this combination once earlier in the card already, and the horse is dropping in class out of that Phoenix G2 that was there at Keeneland. And so that was my top pick. Unfortunately, just as I've done in the other 2 races, I had to look at the favorite here, Edward Plisa and Edgar Zayas Jr., Mr. Jordan. And again, kind of looking at that forgiveness angle, if I'm willing to draw a line through that the Pennsylvania Derby Championship Stakes. I think we were actually handicapping on that day because I see Paige McKinney's name there, and that was one of my big picks that day. So if I'm willing to draw a line through that one and go back to some earlier performances for this horse, I could make a way for Mr. Jordan as well. So I actually have the 5 and the 7 here. And if I'm not mistaken, I've got Joe just singling the 2, and I believe I've got Ray just singling the 7.
Mm.
And we will go ahead and come on back to you guys. There you go. And let me see if I can open up our chat window real quick, and I'll pop that in there. And for those of you who heard our little discussion just starting to this one, I went and copied my little Wikipedia note from there. It says the world record for the most spent on a thoroughbred at a sale took place at Calder in 2006. I was off on that. When a 2-year-old horse sold for $16 million, the horse was later named the Green Monkey. The Green Monkey. All right.
Worth about as much.
Yeah, that's about how much he was worth on the track. And we are going to go. Yeah. Joe, you and I actually, many, many years ago, we saw one of the other really, really high-priced stallions that came out. I believe his name was Mr. Seguguchi at Santa Anita, and he was like a $7 or $8 million horse as well.
I think he was 8, but.
All right,
he was also not worth it.
He was also They read him like once or twice.
You can do a lot better with $16 million and $8 million, right?
Yep.
Run him in the Pegasus.
All right. We are on to the finale. After 3 stakes races, race number 11, 7.5 furlongs on the turf. It is an $8,000 claiming race. The purse is $18,000, which includes $2,000 from the Florida Bred Owners Awards. It is for 3-year-olds and upward. 13 starters, and your morning line favorite starts from post number 6. It's Gear Jammer, trained by Angel Rodriguez and ridden by Erismael Jaramillo. 2-1 on the Gulfstream Park West morning line. Joe, it was our first ever trip here, our first ever handicapping session at Gulfstream Park West. We spent about half our winter at Gulfstream Park. Who do you like in the finale here in the $8,000 claiming race?
I wish I had an easy answer for that question.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I had to go 4 deep. What I did think, at least what I have a fairly strong belief that there's going to be enough pace in this race with fan base and Weeza Gone Gray. Those two are probably going to set a nice pace. And there are a couple other horses in here. Ginger Goose likes to run close when she's good. Metz runs close. So I think there's enough pace to set it up for a closer. So I settled on the 11. Albert Charles, since Leonel Reyes got aboard, she's run 2nd and 3rd here at Gulfstream Park West. Again, 8,000 claimers form is not always necessarily going to hold up, and that's part of the problem when you're betting 8 claimers. They basically they get up one day, they feel good. They get up another day, feel not so good. It's Henry Collazo, I know a little bit about. Obviously, he can train. This horse is obviously running. I think this is an open 8 as opposed to a beaten 8. So this horse may have to step up a little bit. But again, I think there's going to be enough pace. I'm not deterred by the post because the horse is probably going to just sit back and try to make one run. Again, I hope that the jockey and the trainer can read the racing form and see what we see. The horse obviously has been running 5 races since August. So I don't know where the PETA people are, but hopefully they stay away. But this horse has obviously been racing to get back into shape, and those last 2 point him out that he could make a run at the end and run these down in the lane. I do also like the favorite. I couldn't avoid Gear Jammer. And what's funny is I want Rich. Can you go to that horse's PPs? Okay, go. I just saw it. You see that bullet point that says suspicious drop in class today? I don't necessarily agree with that, and here's why. I did, and I guess as an accountant, it's what I do. I did a little bit of the math based on the purse and how much they paid for this horse. If this horse wins and gets claimed for $8,000, they're going to net $18,800. They spent $12,500, so they're still ahead by about $6,000. So obviously, if you look at the stats, drops off claim for this trainer: 16 starters, 8 wins, 50% with a positive ROI. So I don't believe this is suspicious at all. I think this is exactly what they were wanting to do.
Yeah.
They took the horse for 12.5. They figured, I mean, they have to win in order to make money. I guess if the horse runs second and gets claimed, they probably end up breaking about even. But again, I think this is exactly what they wanted to do. The horse has the best form lines. You can see about 4 lengths from being 5 for, winning 5 in a row. And again, at this level, winning 5 in a row is really, really hard to do. Only because the horses are 8,000 claimers for a reason. So the 6 would be my second choice. I also like the 9 a little bit, Zippy Zappy. At least that's how Pete Aiello called it. Again, got a chance to watch video. The horse was, and the race 2 back was the more interesting one to me. The horse did not break all that well, made a rush, actually got to the lead in between those calls. The horse actually had the lead turning for home and faded down the lane. So I think maybe the return to that level back down to 8,000, dropping in from 12.5 again. Maybe this horse has a chance to wake up. And again, like I said, I think there's a lot of pace in the race, so it could set up for a closer, and he's 15-1 on the morning line. And the other horse I liked a little bit was also another long shot, was the 8, Telling Tony, for trainer Antonio Sano, who most of you know as the trainer of Gunnevera. And he obviously 5 for 23 lifetime. The horse is not a bad horse. And that last race wasn't bad. And what I did see, and I don't think the chart caller noticed, is that when this horse was trying to make his move on the second turn, one of the horses that was in front of him, you see he was third at the top of the lane. One of the horses in front of him backed up into him a little bit and kind of, it didn't necessarily stop his momentum, but it cost him at least a length in my eyes. So the horse could have actually run a little bit better. And again, Antonio Sano, I'll take that at 15-1. I know the jockey very, very little. I know he's a fixture. I'm assuming that's he is a fixture down in Florida. But my confidence is in Antonio Sano. If Antonio Sano is riding this guy back after, again, another horse who's coming back after a week. So this horse is obviously in a little bit of form. And again, at the price, I would take it. So I went 4 deep. I pulled out Ray's Keno machine. He let me borrow it while he was here. So I went 11 Albert Charles, 6 Gear Jammer, 9 Zippy Zappy, and 8 Telling Tony, in that order, in the $8,000 claiming finale at Gulfstream Park West. Ray, I'm assuming you went Keno as well. So since you singled in the last race, just like I did, I'm assuming you went Keno. So have at it.
Oh, this race is wild. Let me tell you. You have a cavalry coming down. There's 12 of them.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Oh boy, I tell you. I'm going 6 deep here, so just let you know. It's three A's and 3 B's. How's that? I like the 12 dominant. This horse stays in the same condition. I like the jockey switch back to Castillo. Wheels happened on this horse. Third race off layoff, and it looks like he's getting back to form. He was in good form over the summer, and then his last race was a little tough race, steady early and stuff. So, this horse belongs here. They have speed, and these horses, you just never know. They'll show up, and they'll run hard, and they'll run big, and catch you by surprise. So this horse belongs here. So I'll go with him, 6-1. I do like the 7. Weezer Gone Gray. Speed. Speed could be dangerous. If another horse doesn't break, he'll be on the lead by himself. So, drop in class, and from 12.5 to 8,000. So he belongs here. He's 1 for 2 at the course. So we'll go to speed and Zayas too. Edgar Zayas, one of the big jockeys there. I do like your horse, Joe. 11, Albert Charles. This horse definitely will get a pace. Should be mid-pack. Should probably follow the 12. They'll be together. And they'll make a run together, and you see Lionel Reyes. The figures are up. The last race, he had some energy. So usually these claimers, when they had a good race beforehand, they run a little better next time. I do like number 5, Fan Base, another of the speed horses. If they go out there, this horse is 7 for 15 at the track.
Why?
And stay in the same condition. Toss the last race was off the turf. His horse obviously likes the turf. 32 starts on the turf, so just toss that race. And if the speed holds up, this horse should run well. And the 9, you mentioned him, Zippy Zap. Take a shot here. This horse should just close off the pace. Come on the outside, dropping for 12.5s. With Jorge Delgado and Abby Medina, as you mentioned before. 15-1 is a good price on this horse. So it was wide in the last race, so it definitely should improve. And then we get the 6. Couldn't toss him too. You're right, Joe. These claimers, these trainers, they're percentages. They really place their horses where they think they can win. They gotta make money, pay for their bills, and this horse, drops, but still you can make money on a win. And those stats are very good. 50%. First time for claim, 34%. So Angel Rodriguez in Florida, I guess he puts horses in there to win. So we got to throw him in there too. So that's who we have. We got 12, 7, 11, and then 5, 9, 6. And the rest, well, if we get enough money, play everybody. Rich, back to you.
Yeah, that would be my suggestion to people who are watching the show is go ahead and use that all button that's down there. I did not end up as deep as my colleagues here and things like that. My check mark is on Weeza Gone Gray. Although Joe did catch an interesting note there. If you look back as I was scanning through the forum here and things like that, this is one of those unusual races in South Florida where the P-types, the least successful of the codes here in the Brisnet forums, actually ends up picking up 38% of the wins. And you only get 46% going to the E and the EP type. So, not necessarily a friend of speed. At this particular range at 7.5 furlongs. And yet, look where my check mark is, of course, is I'm back on the early speed type. Weeza Gone Gray. Javier Negrete is a good trainer. Him and Edgar Zayas, small sample size, but they do hit 33% together. And let's just face it, the horse is going to be on the lead at some point in time in this race. It's a nice, actually looking horse. We've seen Weeza Gone Gray before when we got handicapped over at Gulfstream Park West. So my top pick is, in fact, the 7. As I've done in the other races, I could not find a way to go ahead and get rid of this favorite, Gear Jammer, in particular, sitting that it's on the P-type, which, again, we saw on the back page, 38% go into those P-types here. Drops off claim, 50%, so 8 for 16 for Angel Rodriguez. That's very solid. Gets one of the top jockeys down here at Gulfstream Park West. That's Emiseo Jaramillo. And so, again, I went 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 all the way through my entire card here. I just ended up on the 7 and the 6. And didn't go any deeper, leaving my colleagues here to go ahead and fill out for me. I did hear some nice choices that were there, but I've got 7 and 6. I believe Joe's got 11, 9, 8, and 6. And Ray's got 2 lines here. So Ray's top line is the 12, the 7, and the 11. His second line is the 5, the 9, and the 6. Mm-hmm. All right. And let me go ahead and come on back. And let me open up our pick 4 ticket for you.
Oh, yeah, believe me, that last lane, that last race, it's hard to. You can get a top line. I'm just not sure if it's an A line or a B line or a C line or or a D plus line. I mean, it's they're 8 claimers. It is what it is.
You will know 2 steps from the wire who wins.
Really? I'm not so sure about that.
Or maybe 1 step at the wire.
Well, obviously, we'll find out later. Hey, Rich, just for the audience sake, because I know you have a tendency, you watch a lot more racing on the weekends than I do. Unfortunately, I have younger kids. But is Calder on? Because I know Calder, Gulfstream Park West. Is it on like TVG2?
No, it's on TV. I don't. No, it's on the main TVG.
There should be. I think so. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. I just wanted to make sure that people would know where to find it, because I obviously I don't
usually
get
the main
watch
tracks
races during
come
the week.
From New York, Florida, Kentucky, and California usually.
Yeah.
Well,
exactly.
I mean,
Depends on the
I would
schedule,
expect
too.
Aqueduct.
On the schedule.
I would expect Aqueduct and Delmar to be on,
New York,
on the main
California,
channel.
Kentucky,
I just wasn't sure.
Usually,
I just wasn't sure what other tracks would and where Gulfstream Park West ranked in the TVG pecking order.
Yeah, that's a good point. But
Florida is up there. Do those top four.
Yeah, I understand that, but again, it's not Gulfstream. This is Gulfstream Park West.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, true, but it's still the circuit. The circuit they still carry
No,
like on GFG1.
No, I understand that. I just want, like I said, I was just wanting to make sure everybody knew.
That's
Again,
what I
you
think.
can always watch it.
I think, yeah.
Your ADW probably has live video, so if you're betting it through your ADW, you can watch it on your computer on whatever outlet you choose, I guess.
All right, here we go, and I will go ahead and bring up our pick 40 so everybody can see what we're looking at. And
okay,
and let me just change our colors here so that nobody gets it. We will go ahead and put Ray in the blue type today for his beloved New York Giants.
we were talking about them on the way to the airport, weren't we, Ray? And after last week's performance, I'm still wondering how Ben McAdoo has a job. But then again, that's just me. I mean, to get beat at home by the Rams. By 30.
Mm-hmm.
And they lose to the Niners tomorrow. If they lose to the Niners tomorrow, I don't even think they should let him on the plane coming back.
Again, I'm glad I missed the hours from 12 to 3 because I went from 10 o'clock to like 5 o'clock in a flash. So I missed those hours totally. So I'm glad.
There you go.
You mean you didn't go back and you didn't DVR that game and go back and watch every play?
No.
All right. So again, for those of you who are looking at the screen.
How about Thursday's game?
All right. For those of you who are looking at the screen right now. We've got Ray's picks are up there on the top, and I apologize for making a Giants reference there. He's in blue. On the bottom, you've got mine. My choice, little 2 picks in each race, and I'm in the red, which, as it turns out, last week in the Breeders' Cup is exactly where I finished up. And in the black type in the middle is Joe English. So let's see. I got your first race, Ray. I've got you with 3-5-7. Joe, I've got you with 2-5-10, and me with 5-7. Got those correct?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I see definite consensus on the 5. We'll turn these green in a second for those of you who are watching, so you'll know who our top picks are in these races or who our pick 4 choices are. I also see the 7 on a couple of lines there. We're going to put the 7 in. And let's see, Ray, you've also got the 3 on your top line, and Joe, you've got the 2 and the 10 on your top line?
Rich, more the 2 than the 10.
The 2, okay.
Yeah.
So the 2 is your top pick,
so
and I've already got my top pick.
10, not as much.
On to leg number 2, and let's see here. I see the 6 and the 7 in Ray and my top line, and I see the 6 in Joe's top line, and I see the 5 for Joe. That was your top pick, right? So 2.
Mm-hmm. Also, the 2 is on Ray and mine.
Yeah, 5 and 7, right there. That look right. I've got the 2, the 5, the 6. I've also got the 7 that covers me, and that gives you the 2. Ray's the only one that's missing there is Ray's got the 1 in there. All right, and then on to leg number 3, and let's see. I see the 7 on a couple of lines. I see the 2 for Joe. I see the 7. And actually, the 5 was my top choice.
Yeah, so 2-5-7.
7. And on to. Scramble. Let's see here.
Wow.
So I do see the 6 in there.
6
a couple
and 7.
of I see the 11.
6, 7, 11, and Ray's top pick was the 12, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
6, 7, 11, and I see 12.
Okay, that's $72.
Ooh.
3 times 4 times 3 times 4.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. Is that comfortable for everyone?
Yeah. Seems like we get good coverage, right?
Yeah, it's a pretty wide open card.
I'm sorry. Let me change these green for everybody so we can all see what we're looking at here.
I'm taking it down.
2, 5, 6, 7. 2, 5, 7.
And it's about 10 o'clock on East. I'm not sure if I'm assuming maybe, I don't know if Scratch is Ray, can you? You know what? Let me
Yeah, I
see
can
if I
check. Yeah,
get
let me
on my
check
phone.
for scratch.
Okay. See if there are any
So for those,
scratches, early scratch.
but if you're watching along with us, we got 257 with 2567 with 257 with 67 11 12. 6, 7, 11, 12. All right. And it's a $72 pick. And Ray's just going to do real quick for us here to make sure we didn't put anybody that's on the scratch line. You got that, Joe? You got the picks up?
I do.
All right. And I will stop and come on back to you guys.
And before we get any further and
No, nothing yet.
Okay.
Neglect, happy Veterans Day to all the vets out there.
Yes.
We obviously do what we do because of what you've done, what you do now. So happy Veterans Day to you all. If it were up to me, every veteran should eat for free at every restaurant throughout the entire country as long as they wanted. But then again, that's just me.
Yeah.
Before I go ahead and do our wrap up here, any suggestions for next week's show, gentlemen? Anybody got any thoughts on who we should go? I have not had a chance to look at our steak schedule yet.
You know what? I hadn't either, and
all right, well,
because I know it's funny. Yeah, no, I don't know. I know that the Cigar Mile is on December 2nd.
Yeah, they moved it to the second.
Yeah, I don't know about them. Yeah, they moved it after Thanksgiving. And I'm not sure when actual Gulfstream opens. Well, I guess we'll have to let everybody know on Twitter and Facebook.
Let's see. The 18th, right?
Because I don't know if there's any.
Yeah, that's the 18th is next Saturday.
Maybe does Delmar? No, Delmar's big weekend is probably Thanksgiving weekend. That they used to run in Hollywood Park.
Let's see. The 18th. Delta Downs has the Louisiana Legacies, one race. Aqueduct has Artie Schiller, one mile turf. Woodbine, Force King. Del Mar has a Desi Arnaz, which is 2-year-old, 7 furlongs. Churchill has a grade 3. The Cardinal Handicap, 1 mile and 8 on the turf. And the Bet on Sunshine, a small stake, 6 furlongs. So they got 2. That's about it.
We will have
Hawthorne has the Sun Power, 2-year-old, 6 furlongs.
All right. Well, we'll take a closer look at that, and we'll just talk on text message. And we'll go ahead and confirm. We'll lock our show in for next week.
We'll let
I would say Churchill or Del Mar
via Facebook and Twitter.
Yeah.
Okay, for those of you watching, if you enjoyed the show, we will be back next week because that's what the Three Broke Guys do. We're going to get together and take a look at another exciting card, as you heard there from that thrilling commentary. We haven't quite figured out where we're going to go just yet, but we will get back to you on Twitter and on Facebook and let you know where it is going to be. Gentlemen, that's all the time we have for tonight. It is always a pleasure to handicap with the two of you.
Yes.
Uh-oh. Where did everybody go? Uh-oh. I don't